The selection of a new pope is one of the most consequential events in the Roman Catholic Church, shaping its spiritual, moral, and global trajectory for years to come. Following the death of Pope Francis on April 21, 2025, the College of Cardinals will convene in a secretive conclave to elect the 267th pontiff. The candidates, known as Papabili, Papal, represent a diverse spectrum of ideologies, backgrounds, and visions for the Church's future. This article explores the top 10 cardinal prospects for the papacy, ranked from 10 to 1, delving into their biographies, ideologies, and potential impact on the Catholic Church. Drawing from recent analyses and Vatican insights, we examine their stances on key issues such as social justice, doctrinal orthodoxy, inclusivity, and global diplomacy. Number 10. Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke, United States, age 76. Ideology. Ultra-conservative traditionalist Cardinal Raymond Burke, born in Wisconsin, is a polarizing figure, known for his staunch defense of traditional Catholic teachings. A canon lawyer and former Archbishop of St. Louis, Burke was elevated to cardinal by Pope Benedict XVI in 2010. His ideology is rooted in preserving the Church's doctrinal purity, particularly on issues like marriage, the Eucharist, and clerical celibacy. Burke has publicly criticized Pope Francis's progressive reforms, notably the 2016 document Amoris Laetitia, which opened the door for divorced and remarried Catholics to receive communion. He has also called the Church's softened language on contraception and LGBTQ+ issues objectionable, and argued that Catholic politicians supporting abortion rights, like President Joe Biden, should be denied the Eucharist. Burke's advocacy for the Latin Mass and his alignment with conservative factions make him a figurehead for traditionalists. However, his confrontational style and clashes with Francis, culminating in the loss of his Vatican apartment and salary in 2023, have diminished his electability. Critics view him as divisive, and his North American origin may work against him, as a U.S. pope could be seen as consolidating too much global power. Burke's papacy would likely prioritize liturgical orthodoxy and a return to pre-Vatican II practices, appealing to a niche but vocal conservative base. Impact. Potential. A Burke papacy would signal a sharp conservative shift, potentially alienating progressive Catholics and stalling Francis's reforms on inclusivity and social justice. Number 9. Cardinal Robert Sarah, Guinea, age 79. Ideology. Conservative traditionalist Cardinal Robert Sarah, born in French Guinea, is a prominent African cardinal whose conservative theology resonates with traditionalists. Elevated to cardinal by Benedict XVI in 2010, Sarah served as prefect of the Congregation for Divine Worship until his retirement in 2021. He is known for his critiques of gender ideology, which he calls a threat to society, and his defense of clerical celibacy, most notably in a controversial 2020 book co-authored with Pope Benedict XVI. This book, seen as a challenge to Francis's consideration of married priests in the Amazon, strained Sarah's relationship with the Vatican. Sarah's ideology emphasizes liturgical reverence, doctrinal clarity, and resistance to secular influences like liberalism and Islamic fundamentalism. While he appeals to conservatives seeking a return to the doctrinal rigor of John Paul II and Benedict XVI, his age and past tensions with Francis may hinder his chances. As a potential first black pope, Sarah's election would be historic, but his conservative stance aligns more with familiar Vatican traditions than with the growing African Church's pastoral needs. Impact potential. Sarah's papacy would prioritize traditional liturgy and moral teachings, potentially slowing progressive reforms and focusing on Africa's growing Catholic population, though his age limits his long-term influence. Number 8. Cardinal Fidelin Ambongo Bassungu, Democratic Republic of Congo, age 65. Ideology. Conservative with social justice focus. Cardinal Fidelin Ambongo Bassungu, a rising star from the Democratic Republic of Congo, represents the vibrant African Church. Elevated to Cardinal by Francis in 2019, Ambongo is president of the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar. His conservative stance was evident in his leadership of African bishops' unanimous rejection of Fiducia Supplicans, 2023, a Vatican document permitting blessings for same-sex couples, which he viewed as culturally incompatible with African values. Despite his doctrinal conservatism, Ambongo is a vocal advocate for social justice, condemning corruption, environmental exploitation, and violence in the Congo. His balanced approach, conservative on moral issues but progressive on economic and ecological justice, makes him a compelling candidate. As a younger cardinal, he could lead for decades, and his election would mark the first African pope since Gelasius IV in the 5th century. However, his relative newness to the cardinalate and Africa's smaller voting bloc may pose challenges. Impact potential. Ambongo's papacy could bridge conservative theology with Francis's emphasis on the poor, amplifying Africa's voice in the global church while maintaining traditional moral teachings. Number 7. Cardinal Jean-Marc Avelin, France, age 66. Ideology. Progressive with interfaith focus. Cardinal Jean-Marc Avelin, Archbishop of Marseille, is a progressive figure with a unique background. Born in Algeria to Spanish immigrants, Avelin has spent his career in Marseille, a multicultural hub. Elevated to cardinal by Francis in 2022, he is known for his folksy demeanor, intellectual depth, and commitment to interfaith dialogue, particularly with Islam. Avelin organized a 2023 Mediterranean Church Conference attended by Francis, boosting his profile. Avelin's ideology aligns closely with Francis's, emphasizing immigration, environmental protection, and inclusivity. He has supported blessings for same-sex couples and hinted at openness to relaxing priestly celibacy. Though he remains ambiguous on women's ordination, his lack of Italian fluency and limited Vatican experience could be drawbacks, but his youth and progressive credentials make him a dark horse. A French pope, the first since the 14th century, would be a bold choice. Impact potential. Avelin's papacy would continue Francis's progressive agenda, prioritizing interfaith dialogue and social issues, potentially revitalizing Catholicism in secular Europe. Number 6. Cardinal Peter Kodwo Appiah Turkson, Ghana, age 76. Ideology. Moderate with social justice leanings. Cardinal Peter Turkson, a Ghanaian prelate, is a prominent African candidate who could become the first black pope in modern times. Elevated by John Paul II in 2003, Turkson has held high-profile Vatican roles, including president of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace. His ideology blends moderate conservatism with a strong commitment to social justice, particularly on issues like poverty, migration, and climate change. Turkson has taken nuanced stances opposing the criminalization of homosexuality in African countries like Ghana while maintaining traditional teachings on marriage. A 2012 controversy where he was accused of fear-mongering about Islam's spread in Europe dented his reputation, but he later apologized. His global experience and pastoral approach make him a strong contender, though his age and past missteps may limit his appeal. Impact, potential. Turkson's papacy would emphasize the global South's growing influence, balancing traditional morality with Francis's social justice priorities, potentially strengthening the Church in Africa. Number 5. Cardinal Mateo Zupi, Italy, age 69. Ideology, progressive with diplomatic acumen. Cardinal Mateo Zupi, Archbishop of Bologna and President of the Italian Bishops' Conference, is a progressive Italian with deep Vatican ties. Elevated by Francis in 2019, Zupi is known as a street priest, with a focus on the poor and marginalized. His diplomatic missions for Francis, including peace efforts in Ukraine and the Middle East, highlight his global stature. Zupi's ideology mirrors Francis's, emphasizing inclusivity for LGBTQ+ Catholics, interfaith dialogue, and social justice. He supports modernizing the Church while maintaining its spiritual core, earning him the nickname Francis 2.0 among progressives. His Roman roots and pastoral experience make him a strong candidate, though conservatives may view him as too liberal. An Italian pope, after 40 years, would resonate with traditionalists nostalgic for an Italian papacy. Impact potential. Zupi's papacy would continue Francis's reforms, fostering a more inclusive and socially engaged church with a focus on peace-building and European revival. Number 4. Cardinal Pierre Batista Pizzala, Italy, age 60. Ideology, moderate with Middle East expertise. Cardinal Pierre Batista Pizzala, Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, is a rising Italian star with extensive Middle East experience. Elevated by Francis in 2023, Pizzala has spent decades in the Holy Land, navigating complex conflicts and fostering interreligious dialogue. He speaks Hebrew, engages with Hamas out of necessity, and has visited Gaza during the Israel-Hamas war, earning respect for his pastoral courage. Pizzala's ideology is moderate, aligning with Francis on environmental protection and social justice while avoiding doctrinal controversies. His support for the Latin Mass appeals to conservatives, but his focus on peace and dialogue attracts progressives. At 60, he could lead for decades, though his youth may concern cardinals wary of long pontificates. His Italian heritage could sway European electors. Impact potential. Pizzala's papacy would prioritize global conflict resolution and interfaith dialogue, leveraging his Middle East expertise to enhance the Church's moral authority. Number 3. Cardinal Peter Erdo, Hungary, age 72. Ideology, conservative with European influence. Cardinal Peter Erdo, Archbishop of Budapest, is a leading conservative candidate with significant European clout. Elevated by John Paul II in 2003, Erdo has twice led the Council of European Episcopal Conferences, building ties with African bishops. His intellectual rigor and canon law expertise make him a favorite among traditionalists seeking a return to doctrinal clarity. Erdo's ideology emphasizes traditional teachings on marriage and migration, notably comparing refugee intake to human trafficking, a stance that aligned him with Hungary's nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orban. While respected by liberals for his balanced approach, his conservative leanings would mark a shift from Francis's progressivism. His extensive Vatican experience and European base enhance his electability. Impact potential. Erdo's papacy would restore doctrinal discipline, focusing on Europe's Catholic identity, while engaging the global South, potentially moderating Francis's reforms. Number 2. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Philippines, age 67, ideology, progressive with global appeal. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, former Archbishop of Manila, is a charismatic Filipino who could become the first Asian pope. Elevated by Benedict XVI in 2012, Tagle serves as pro-prefect for the dicastery for evangelization. Known as Francis II for his progressive views, he advocates inclusivity for LGBTQ+ Catholics, divorced couples, and unmarried mothers, criticizing the Church's historically harsh language. Tagle's pastoral experience in the Philippines, where 80% of the population is Catholic, and his U.S. education give him broad appeal. His emotional intelligence and media savvy, evidenced by teaching Pope Francis the I love you hand sign, make him a global communicator. The Philippines' 5 cardinals could form a lobbying bloc, but his liberal stance may alienate conservatives. Impact potential. Tagle's papacy would amplify Asia's Catholic growth, continuing Francis's inclusive reforms and strengthening the Church's presence in the global South. Finally, number 1, Cardinal Pietro, Parolin, Italy, age 70. Ideology, moderate with diplomatic mastery. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Vatican Secretary of State since 2013, is the front-runner to succeed Francis. A seasoned diplomat from Veneto, Italy, Parolin has overseen major Vatican initiatives, including the controversial China bishop deal and peace negotiations in the Middle East. His moderate ideology balances Francis's progressive reforms with diplomatic pragmatism, making him a continuity candidate who avoids ideological extremes. Parolin's global experience, including as ambassador to Venezuela and his role as the Vatican's de facto deputy pope, give him unmatched credentials. Critics note his lack of pastoral experience and involvement in a botched London real estate deal, but his reputation as a sensible, humble leader overshadows these concerns. An Italian pope would restore tradition after 3 non-Italian pontiffs, appealing to European cardinals. Impact potential. Parolin's papacy would stabilize the Church, continuing Francis's diplomatic and social justice priorities while fostering unity amid ideological divides. The 2025 conclave will be a pivotal moment for the Catholic Church, with the next pope inheriting a divided institution navigating declining influence in the West, growth in the global South, and debates over inclusivity, abuse scandals, and geopolitics. The top 10 candidates reflect this diversity, from Burke and Sarah's traditionalism to Tagle and Zupi's progressivism, and from Ambongo and Turkson's African perspectives to Parolin and Pizzala's diplomatic expertise. Parolin's moderation and experience make him the likely choice, but the unpredictable nature of conclaves, captured by the adage, "He who enters as pope leaves as a cardinal," means surprises are possible. The election could yield historic firsts: an Asian pope in Tagle, an African pope in Ambongo or Turkson, or a return to Italian leadership with Parolin or Pizzala. Each candidate's ideology will shape the Church's response to modern challenges, from secularism to climate change. As the Sistine Chapel's chimney signals the outcome, the world will watch to see whether the Church embraces continuity, reform, or a conservative retrenchment.